Welcome to the Customer Wins podcast, where business leaders discuss their secrets and techniques for helping their customers succeed and in turn grow their business.
Hi, I'm Rich Walker, the host of the Customer Wins, where I talk to business leaders about how they help their customers win and how their focus on customer experience leads to growth. Some of our past guests have included Cody Foster of Advisors Excel and Justin Crane of Crane Financial Solutions. Today, I get to speak with Jonathan Miller, CEO of Parsonex. And today's episode is brought to you by Quik, the leader in enterprise forms processing. When the last step to earning your client's business requires processing forms, don't ruin a good relationship with a bad experience. Instead, get Quik Forms to make processing forms a great experience and the easiest part of your transaction. Visit quickforms.com to get started. I want to give a quick shout out to Fiorald Ismaili, a friend I met over a decade ago online and have watched become a successful designer in Albania. Check out his website at fiorald.com. All right, today's guest, Jonathan Miller, is the founder and CEO of Parsonex Enterprises and its affiliates. As you're going to see today, he's a visionary with over 2 decades of experience and has propelled Parsonex become one of the fastest growing companies in North America. Jonathan is an accredited wealth management advisor, holds a multitude of financial industry designations, and he personally leads Parsonex Wealth Management Division. Combining his financial expertise with a passion for the entertainment industry, Jonathan recently ventured into cinema, producing his debut feature film, Publish or Perish, through Elation Media. The film has already won numerous awards at film festivals around the world. Wow, that's so exciting. Jonathan, welcome to the Customer Wins.
Hey, Rich, thanks for having me on. I appreciate being here.
Now, look, if you haven't heard this podcast before, I talk with business leaders about what they're doing to help their customers win, how they built and deliver a great customer experience, and the challenges to growing their own company. Jonathan, I'd like to understand your business a little bit better. How does your company help people?
Well, it's central to who we are. In fact, our purpose, we say, is to make the lives of those we serve better. We're in a service industry, right? We're not selling widgets in the financial services industry. And I would say there's really 2 classes of people that we help in different ways. And of course, the most important in our business is investors and clients of our firm. And I think that we help them in a lot of ways, but while we're an independent firm and we sell investments, what we found over the years is that the number one influence on their long-term investment success is their behavior. And behavior is most influenced by the decisions people make or that they don't make. So while we sell investment products and provide a lot of different kinds of services, we're very diverse in that nature. What we really offer clients is advice. And I think that for people to receive advice and for people to be able to give advice, it's important that you have a relationship, that you earn the right to give that advice. You can't just blindly put people into portfolios. And so we have fantastic relationships with our clients, and we guide them on their journey to financial independence, and then not just to retirement, but through retirement. And obviously in wealth management, it's a little different because we're allocating resources for people who've had a sale of a business or inherited a bunch of money, and their retirement's pretty much set, but they want to focus on their lifestyle. So service is probably the hallmark that differentiates us, but we do that through relationships and rendering advice based on financial plans and goals and dreams and aspirations, the lifestyle people want to lead in the future. So we advise them on that. The second group of clients that we help are customers. They're really our partners. We have a tremendous group of independent financial professionals around the country. And I think the average person, average leader, I can't remember what threshold we set to kind of not, give a good number on that, but they've been with us for 14 and a half years. So we have a lot of people who have really helped build the business with us. And so while we're an independent firm, as you know, in your business, there's lots of different broker dealers, there's lots of different investment firms out there, and the advisors and reps have choices of how they want to do their business, who they work with. So even though ultimately it's of course about the clients and we have some core philosophies, and we really partner with our advisors and help them build their business, help them be successful, help them deliver that service to clients. So we really view that the financial advisors and independent financial professionals that are affiliated with our firm who are in business for themselves and have been with us a long time and helped a lot of the key people, we call them Salesforce partners, have helped build the company since the beginning. We've got to see how their careers have progressed. We've added synergy to that. We just try to be a partner with them and service their business and be responsive and not just give them checklists. And so those are the things that we do, and we love it. And we are a highly relational firm, and so we get fantastic feedback from both our advisors and our clients. And those are the two main groups.
So Jonathan, you said something interesting to me, because I don't know if you knew, but I left technology to become a financial advisor, which then led me to say, I got to solve this forms problem because I'm never filling out forms again. But aside from that, when I was an advisor, what I realized is a lot of the work I did was psychological. And I think you distilled it so much better when you said it's about influencing behavior, right? So I'm curious now, if you think about how your company is organized with your advisor team and the tools you provide them and the solutions you provide, how do you create a better experience and influence behavior that serves your customer better?
It's a great question. So first of all, I would tell you that what we have now today, people see the glory, they don't know the story. It wasn't always this way, right? So I wish I could tell you that in 2007, when we launched Parsonex Securities in November, end of November 2007, that we had this roadmap and this perfectly laid out plan, and that's just not how it's happened. We had an idea that we wanted to take care of clients and we want to take care of independent advisors and have a home for them that was different. But a lot of the things that we have today, they evolved over time and developed over time. So I think in any business, you have to be constantly improving and fixing little things and soliciting feedback, not thinking you have all the answers. But over time, a very strong culture and a very strong system has developed. And the first thing is we're structured differently for our advisors. We actually looked at, hey, how can we be unique? Because we're obviously not going to be as big as some of the largest firms out there. There's a lot of different independent firms where every advisor is a business unto themselves, which is what I was sold on in the beginning. It sounds great until you're like, wait a second, I'm not sure I want to do all these things. I kind of want help and support. I need a good form system. So we use the word partnership, and what we did is we actually collaborated a few years ago with a managing partner, one of our attorneys with a very large law firm, and we were asking, how do you guys run the law firm? How do you guys structure that? And so what we've come up with is really a partnership system. We call it Salesforce partnership because technically we're a corporation with multiple companies, but the way that we treat each other, the kind of the mutual benefit, having expertise in various areas that people can help each other with or refer people to, it's structured more like a law firm. And the person who advised us, his name is Alan Wolper. He's actually a managing partner with Ulmer & Byrne in Chicago, comes from a securities background. He's the best securities attorney I know in the industry. And we've had a great long-term friendship and relationship with him. But he said, Jonathan, there's a lot of different companies out there, and they're all kind of similar in the sense that he said they're all apples, maybe different color apples, different variations of apple, different size apples. But he said, what you're creating here is an orange. And that was music to my ears, of course, but it's still in process. And so we have a fantastic group of advisors, and I think it's about servicing them, being responsive. Now, they're in business for themselves, so we can't do it for them. We don't just, they still have to go work and do a lot of things, but just anything we can do to make that process simpler. And to your point, forms, logic, and systems that make the execution of it simpler, right? As simple as possible, but not simpler. Those things I think are so important and frankly lacking with a lot of different firms about how they operate. We know a lot of companies that still do paper applications and handwritten, which there's an element of that's good because you can be very personable about it with clients. But what we found is that you want to have as little friction as you can in the actual process and implementation, do an outstanding job, because it really is about the relationship. And you don't want to be like, all right, I got a client who said they'll invest and they're going to do this. Oh boy, now we got to go through this arduous process to get everything taken care of. We want to make all those things as smooth as possible, and really just build long-term relationships, do the best we can with what we have, where we are. And then, That's it.
I love what you're saying, Jonathan, because I mean, obviously you're a visionary. You're not just, hey, I'm going to start a business. You want to start a business with passion and a goal in mind, and try to drive to better outcomes. And I love that. I love entrepreneurs like yourself, because that's where I'm from. I mean, I want to see people do things better. And one of the things that we figured out is that when companies focus on how they improve the experience for their customers, they actually improve and influence the growth of their company. So I'm curious, you've taken this partnership strategy really serious. Does that mean that advisors collaborate with each other? They build strong bonds and relationships with each other? Or is it purely with you guys back at the home office? Or
No, we're very, very blessed. We have an amazing culture of people helping each other. And I do think that's uncommon in a lot of independent firms. Yeah, you go to conferences and you see people, or you go to industry type things, but everybody's doing things their own way. We have just been very fortunate that we've had a lot of people come and go over the years, but the core group of partners, advisors, we call them we have identified some people as up and coming partners who are building their businesses. And frankly, some of them are going to outperform us veterans at some point in the future once they have enough time and compound interest behind them. But I think that it's big in little things. I think that Elon Musk said he didn't invent a car because all the technology was there. He just made 100 little things better, make batteries a little bit better. And then when you do those things in aggregate, then the net result is something that then feels and looks very different. There's definitely been bigger shifts over time where we've made strategic changes, but the core philosophies of who we are, how we treat people, which that's what culture is, right? Culture is not about, hey, we get an extra day off, or we got this kind of coffee versus, WeWork, I think, used to have beer there, which they don't have anymore, things like that. It's about how people treat one another and how they interact. And yeah, we are so blessed because the leaders in our firm, they all have very different businesses. There's a philosophical alignment on doing things right and serving clients and building great relationships. The referrals that they get, I see them from clients. It is just unbelievable. I mean, they do a good job. And in fact, we modeled some of the systems that we have based on what we've seen from them. And we try to share best practices. So we have online collaboration communities, but we're small enough that people can also just pick up the phone or send an email on questions that they have, because you know what you know what you don't know, but you don't know what you don't know. And so having a network of people that really do help each other, and there's connection, financially, because there's in the partnership thing, there's stock options and things like that they get at that level. Yeah. But I would tell you, it's not the financial that drives it. It's really the way that either they were helped when they were building their businesses by others, and they give back and they encourage each other. Because that's another thing. Independent advisors, you're out there by yourself, right? It sounds so good on the front end. Independent, highest contract, and you realize, wow, I'm really just running a business, and I really just wanted to help clients and have my, just have a great lifestyle. Now I got to do all these other 50 things that I have to hire 3 or 4 or 5 people. And so we try to make it as great of a business structure as possible. But I think that having people that when you're going through tough times, you can call and just get encouragement from, or to celebrate wins with, right? If you're all by yourself, it's like, good job.
No, I think that's amazing. I think that's really, really awesome, because a lot of people have a scarcity mindset of like, oh, I'm going to compete with you. I can't share with you what I'm doing. And I know when you go to conferences, you see people, they aggregate, they do communicate about it. But if you built a firm of entrepreneurs, and one thing I know about entrepreneurs is they love helping other entrepreneurs, because we've all been there, right? I think that's phenomenal. I'm curious because I'm a big fan and student of company culture. I'm wondering if you've distilled it down to any core concepts or words even that describe and drive your company culture. And if you haven't, that's fine. I just don't know.
Yeah, let me pull it up here actually, so I don't misphrase it. If you don't mind, give me 1 second. We do, yeah. This is from a couple of years ago. It was funny when we were developing it. One of the gentlemen on our team, Fred Wojcik, he's worked with us since 2017, and as a consultant, and we really say he makes people better. He's actually not from the financial services industry, has a business background and a nonprofit background, and we knew each other prior to that. And he started part-time and then has been with us since then. And when I shared this a couple of years ago, I said, oh, this is, I can't remember if I called it a vision statement or a purpose statement. He goes, well, really, it's this. And like, so this is probably not the technical jargon of, I'm not sure which of those categories it falls into, but we, like I told you, our purpose is to make the lives of those we serve better. And in that end, we say we want to deliver superior value and service. I think when you get okay value and service, you give you don't really refer people for that, right? You're not enthusiastically engaged. The second thing is we want to build profitable and impactful relationships. And the third is we want to always do our best and strive for excellence. And that's always a pursuit. We can't control a lot of things are out of our control in the business. But I think that the funny thing is in that second one, people said, build profitable and impactful relationship. Is that saying you're prioritizing profit? I said, I didn't say profit for us. It's for them. It has to be mutually profitable and beneficial. It's like the way the Japanese culture does business. And I'm not sure if you're familiar. I have a buddy of mine who he runs something called the English Language College. He's my best friend since growing up in Germany, actually. And he runs 3 different schools in California, but he's traveled the world. And he said different cultures have different, around the world have different ways they do business. And I won't say who he said on the negative end of this, but he had said that, a lot of people are trying to just nickel and dime you for everything they can get. And he said, doing business in Japan is very unique because he said he's talking to them and they get this deal and they negotiate hard. But then at the end, they say, hey, we just want to make sure we want this to be a long-term relationship. Are you guys making enough money off of this deal? And he's like,
I love it.
Yes, we are, but thanks for asking. It changes the dynamic of those relationships. And I think that's so those are the things that I would say broadly define our culture. And then there's lots of details because it's always in the execution that it makes the difference.
No, I think these things are important. So let me take a step back. I actually believe that what truly drives customer growth and how you help your customer win is by having a strong, well-defined culture, which leads to then delivering better customer experiences, which then leads to growth. And I actually defined my company culture before I ever started my company, because what I was doing in college and in my younger years was I was going from company to company. And I had the luck. I got to work at Arthur Andersen in consulting. So I had a different client every 6 to 12 months. And I got to experience so many different company cultures that I suddenly realized what would empower me to do my best work are the 4 tenets of our company culture, which are and they're all equal, so it doesn't matter the order, but they are: we must design software so easy to use it doesn't require a user guide, because who wants to read a user guide? They just want to use it. It has to be intuitive. But that also applies to processes and how you deliver services throughout your organization. We must provide outstanding service. And my premise is, if you get a product that you need help with and you can't get help, that product is worth 0 to you. Third, you have to do what you say you're going to do. If I say I'm going to call you at 2, I'm going to call you at 2. Even if I'm going to call and say, hey, we don't have the answer yet, but we're going to follow through on what we say we're going to do. And fourth is we love what we do. And when you find people who love what they do, it becomes infectious. And I think everything kind of spills forward. And man, Jonathan, it sounds like you are building an amazing organization over there.
I love I was writing them down. I love what you just said. And if you don't mind, do you mind if I expand on those? Or?
Go for it. Yeah, I love these things. I want to share.
I'll just tell you that when you talk about the experience, it's very interesting because we've talked about this a lot in our industry, especially financial services. As much money as there are at some of the big companies, I'm sure you've seen that they design these very expensive proprietary systems that take a couple of years. By the time they're designed, they're already a little bit obsolete, not totally, and over time becomes more. You could contrast the experience of buying a car from a used car dealership, which I am not a car guy. I drive enough miles that I've leased for many years, and that's just because I'm a mechanical idiot. But if you go there to that's one experience, or just even buy any kind of a car. But then you go into Tesla, and I have some friends that have bought Teslas. I had one as a rental car with my wife in Nashville this weekend, and it's just, you walk in there, everything's paperless. It's a super simple process. Same if you go into the Apple store, right? It's just a different thing. You check out and besides the fact that there's tons of people. So the services, they're so popular that probably maintaining service is difficult, but the process is so simple and easy and frankly enjoyable that people tell other people about it. And how often do people brag about processes in anything? We don't do that at the airport, that's for sure, right? So
but it becomes a differentiator, right? I mean, these are the things that you're looking at for how do you differentiate yourself, because you didn't want to just be another apple on the tree or in the orchard. You wanted to be the orange. So you look at these types of things as a visionary and entrepreneur, right?
Well, the other one I'll piggyback off on, and I think it's become more important for me since we've had success and kind of been where we're at in the last several years, is that I say having fun is part of the DNA also. In fact, I might have to incorporate that. We have a fund group, and I said, hey, we put the fun in fund. they like roll their eyes, and they're like, it's kind of goofy. But I think that, and that doesn't mean that every aspect of it is fun, right? There's a difference between joy and fun. Matthew McConaughey has a graduation speech that's super popular online. If you haven't seen it, it's fantastic. But he talks about the difference between joy and I think people say, well, I just want to do something that's fun. Well, maybe fun for people is sitting on the couch, having edibles, playing video games, and not being productive. But I think that joy comes from doing things that we're passionate about. And as you know, in building a business, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of work over a sustained period of time. So it was same in film. You mentioned film, we can talk about that later. If you don't love it, if you're not in it because you enjoy it, if you're just doing it to make a living or to pay the bills or just to get rich, I guess some people do that. I think that just from an overall lifestyle and health standpoint, we're all here just for a flicker. So you have to really, I think, enjoy the things. Doesn't mean you enjoy every aspect, but you have to make personnel changes or have things that tough decisions. That's not necessarily always enjoyable. You just got to discipline yourself to do them. But having fun, being passionate about what you're doing, yeah, it makes everything worthwhile. It unifies, it energizes. And so I love that that's one of your things. And that's also, I think, central to us. We take all of our advisors annually on, we used to do it twice a year, but in the last few years, we've only been doing it once a year, but we call them FIN trips, financial independence trips. So we have traveled, I think we're on number 24. We're going on a cruise to Barcelona.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
sorry, we're going on a cruise out of Barcelona, a Mediterranean cruise. My wife and I, our family did that in 2019. We had to postpone it a couple of years for the company trip because of COVID, but that's next May. And it's not for selling any particular product, it's all compliant and all that sort of stuff. But we did that. We just built it into the structure from a compensation and reward standpoint, because and people have said, well, can I just get the money or can I go? And I go, no, you cannot. And they go, what do you mean you cannot? I said, this is about building relationships and culture and experience, and the talks that happen, the cross-pollination, the ideas that come out of this sometime, whether big or small. It's like, oh my gosh, that's a phenomenal idea that then takes one person up. And so, yeah, I didn't like it when I was a kid because I thought success was about hitting certain things or having certain things. And as we all know, that's not really, it is really a journey. And if you're not enjoying the journey, if it's just miserable all the time, then it's very difficult to keep that sustained effort without having serious health problems or going crazy.
Man, I love that. Yeah. When we talk about empowering people to do their best work, and so people do the work they love, I also say you don't love every task. Like, I do not like expense reports. It's one of the last things I ever want to do. And so I look for things I can get rid of or give to somebody else, and hopefully find somebody who does want to do those things and offload their work that they don't like to somebody else, et cetera. So I think that's super fantastic. Man, I have two other topics I want to bring up, but we're going to run out of time. But now I want to ask you about your movie.
Well, before we go there, can I make one more comment? Sorry, just because it's so powerful. And you're right, we'll have to do this again in the future when we got more time and bandwidth. But two things I think that are central from an entrepreneurship standpoint, because I do speak to other entrepreneurs, even in our business. And I've had the privilege of a lot of our advisors that I've seen their path to success. And people see the glory in the last several years. A lot of them, they go, oh my gosh, they've always been successful, but that wasn't the case, right? They had a long, hard journey there. But when I talk to entrepreneurs, I think a lot of times they look at me or you or other people that are successful in business. They say, well, their personality, it's almost like we make excuses for people make excuses for, of course, it was inevitable. It was inevitable that we win the awards for the film, but that we would have, all this growth and a great company. And that's just not the case. And what I've told people is leadership as an entrepreneur is really surrounding yourself with people that complement you, because there's probably 50 things that you have to be good at and actually do well to have a great company. It's not one or two, it's a lot of them. And you're probably only good at a few of those things. Maybe you can do others, but it either doesn't motivate you or it doesn't inspire you, or you're not as good as other people. You're not as good as you think maybe at some of those things. But to be self-aware, like you were saying, surrounding yourself with people that complement you and that do those other things, and also giving the bigger purpose that it isn't about one person. It's about a team. My son just went off to college. He's playing college football at Weber International University. He's a quarterback, worked very hard. Again, took a long journey. As anybody's got, an athlete in the family, it's a lot of long journey for them to get where they want to go. And but I think football is a great analogy for it. Is you need to have a quarterback, you need to have running back, you need to have offensive and defensive players, you have to have coaches and trainers and meal programs, and you have to have people that are selling the tickets and scheduling the games. There is such an infrastructure around it of such varied talents that it takes to succeed in any endeavor, that it's critical that you recognize that in business, that you're really building a machine. And yeah, early on, you're going to have to do it all. You're going to have to do all the different things, and the one or two people to help you. You're trying to negotiate deals so that can I get you to do lots of work for the least amount of money because I have no money, right? We've all been there. But you do those things, and over time, go ahead. Yeah.
This is one of the reasons I asked the very first question of how do you help people? Because I think humans are social creatures that depend on others. And it's exceptionally rare that one person can be completely independent and live a life independently. And it's really about how do we help each other, because we do depend on each other and we play these different roles. The quarterback's not throwing a long bomb into the end zone to himself.
Exactly.
Can't happen.
Yeah. In your business, I just think also is a similar, but it's different, because what can make things more efficient? Team, right? Because you can take tasks off of it. But I think the business that you're in, technology, streamlining things, we live in this amazing age and world, and so much of the talk in the media is negative about things that are going wrong. But when you think about the things you can do, just as far as automate the stuff you provide for software vendors and companies, that can be so streamlined compared to what they were back in the day. We live in an amazing society, but it is incumbent upon us as entrepreneurs and people to use those tools and not get frustrated by them. Find people to help you, because the more you can implement those things, you get to spend your time on what I think is important, especially in our business. And those are the uniquely human things. Use technology and systems and structure to make those processes as simple as possible. But then you get to lean into the things that are uniquely human. So,
yeah, in fact, that's one of the things I'm really excited about. We're going to be launching a product this fall that's going to eliminate the human factor of getting data off of forms. Everything's going to be 100% streamlined, AI driven, to give perfect data off any form, whether it was handwritten, filled out digitally, e-sign, doesn't matter. So systems can be more fluid and people can focus on what they do best, which is nobody's best work is reading a form.
Amazing, right? By the way, we're very interested. We'll have to follow up on that conversation. That sounds incredible. And you're completely correct. It's like, how do you make it? Because the flip side of that is people force some people, especially in our industry, there's a lot of older advisors who don't want to, they want to just do paper. So rather than forcing them, technology needs to enhance our effectiveness and efficiency, not replace it. And so if you're better at taking paper forms and you have a solution that you can do that, but then still it works in the ecosystem, the structure, I think that's an amazing thing that you're doing.
Super, super excited about it. Okay, so look, you were talking about having fun. I have to imagine this movie that you became part of was fun. So what's this movie? Tell us about it.
Yeah, the movie is called Publish or Perish. It's a dark comedy that was written by a tenured professor at the University of Colorado, Denver, named David Liban. He's actually the writer, director, and then he's my producing partner on the film. And he had made other films and other movies. And it's about a English professor who is relentlessly pursuing tenure. He obsessively pursuing tenure, which I knew the word tenure, but I didn't know what that was until got involved with this project, and how much work goes into it and how much pressure and stress it is, because basically you can't lose your job unless you do something really stupid, which is one of the opening lines of the movie. And he accidentally, in this process, kills a student. And by the way, it's dark comedy, so rated R. So then from that point, it was accidental, but then he makes many bad decisions that kind of compound on each other. And so you have to be okay with dark comedy and with language and things like that, violence, a little bit of all of the above. But we won a bunch of awards around at film festivals around the world, and it comes out on August 18th on Amazon and other places. We're having a Hollywood premiere on the 19th. We also got a waiver from SAG, because the SAG actors, and we had a lot of SAG performers that made this film great. They're on strike right now, and a lot of them are really hurting. So we're actually doing a fundraiser in conjunction with SAG that probably by the time this comes out, it'll already have happened, but potentially would be ongoing. And yeah, we're just supportive of the people, because it's not the superstar actors that are wealthy already that are affected by it. It's all the people that this is their job and their craft, and all the affiliated people. So yeah, it's very, very fun and exciting, and we're kind of nearing the end of that process.
Yeah, I think people forget how many different people participate in the making of a film. The crews that go out and set up things, and the scouts, that I've just so many different people. It's funny. I had a friend produce a movie out of his own budget, and he actually used my office as one of the filming locations, which was pretty cool. So my old office in Torrance, California was actually in a movie.
I know where Torrance is at. That is in the LA. It's right by LAX, I think. Correct?
Yeah, about 10 miles south of LAX.
We have an advisor, Andreas Reiter, is actually, or I'm not sure if he's still there, but he was for a very long time, and it's still the same area. So.
Oh man, Jonathan, I unfortunately got to wrap this up, because I could ask you so many more questions, and you're right. We'll have to do this again. Before we wrap this up, I have another really important question to ask you. But before that, how should people find you and connect with you?
Yeah, the best way is to go to the Parsonex.com website. My schedule is very busy. In fact, that's the one thing when you start growing, it's like, I want to talk to everybody and encourage young entrepreneurs as much as possible. So thanks for these types of things are great, because it's a way that you can reach broader audiences, but my schedule is pretty buttoned down these days. But Parsonex.com, you can just go on there and I think click the About section and connect with the, I think it's the office of the CEO or something like that. Sarah Putnick is my my executive assistant. But yeah, you just go on there, and depending what capacity you want to connect with us, we point you in the right direction. And then also on social media, which under my profile, it'll have all the social links there as well.
Awesome. That's so cool. All right, so here's my last question. Who has had the biggest impact on your leadership style or how you approach your role today?
Ooh. The biggest impact. I would say that's a tough one, but in the broker dealer and investment industry, is actually my mentor, I would say, who I really followed in his footsteps, not knowing I would do that at the time. He actually passed away a few years ago. His name is Dave Wickersham. Just a phenomenal guy. I was this young out of college rep, 22 years old. I was trained in, like a lot of people go sell insurance. And, so I got a little bit of training, but I joined their firm, which is an independent firm, when my wife and I moved to Colorado in 2000. And, there was zero reason that he should, have taken any amount of time with me, because I was a low producing rep who didn't know anything, didn't have a network or any experience, but he did over time and over the years. And then in 2007, when we started our own firm, he actually was supportive of that. And we actually had some business integrations with them, not immediately, but over time, because we said, hey, we don't have the ability to do this. Can we do it with you? But in the last years, before he passed away a few years ago, we kind of would meet once or twice a year for breakfast, and it was really comparing notes about the industry and then just talking about life. And, so I miss him, right? There's definitely times since then I'd be like, gosh, I would totally run this scenario by him, because he would have some wisdom, because he's one of the, started with E.F. Hutton back in the day. Like he has all this wisdom But yeah, I would say that in the investment and broker-dealer industry, and it wasn't like we spent tons of time together. I was registered as a branch manager with the firm for 7 years, but then I had moved on, but we stayed in touch, and his son actually now runs the firm. And but I would just say that, yeah, it was one of those people that, for whatever reason, because I've thought back on it, there really wasn't a good reason other than, I guess, he liked me to a certain extent, because there wasn't a business reason early on that he should have spent any amount of time with me, but he did. And I think sometimes those are the people that impact us the most. And so, yeah.
He must have seen that you're a visionary. He must have seen your aptitude and potential before you did, which is really cool.
Without going into details, I'll tell you, he helped me avoid mistakes from time to time. And he would, because when you get approved as a broker dealer in 2007, you're like, wow, they approved us as a broker dealer. I mean, theoretically, that sounds fine, right? But then it's like, I've been a branch manager. I theoretically know how all this stuff works, but then you have to actually run it. And so, yeah, I mean, he just did a lot of things that were just very, very generous and very helpful. And, but he's in a better place today. So we, I get to remember him and then pass it on to other. Sadly, not sadly, I guess it's just the way life is. I'm getting older myself. So now at one point I was the young person in the industry, the young person winning trips. And now I'm like definitely middle-aged. And so I, get to pass that on to other folks as well.
Yeah. And to create cruise ship trips for your entire team. Amazing.
yeah. Fin trips, financial independence.
Yeah.
Fin.
That is awesome. I want to give you a big thank you, Jonathan, for being on our show. Speaking with Jonathan Miller, CEO of Parsonex, being on this episode of The Customer Wins. Go check out Jonathan's website at parsonex.com. And don't forget to check out Quik at quickforms.com, where we take the work out of paperwork. I hope you've enjoyed this discussion. We'll click the like button, share this with someone, and subscribe to our channels for future episodes of The Customer Wins. Jonathan, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Customer Wins podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.